In a quiet home, a newborn's unceasing cries pierce the night, filling hearts with worry and uncertainty. The family's world turned upside down, desperate for a solution. Then, in a twist no one expected, a playful puppy stepped forward, his small act sparking a chain of events that defied logic. What did he do? This unbelievable moment holds the key to a story of hope, love, and miracles that will leave you speechless. In a cozy, quiet home on the outskirts of a small town, life moved at a gentle pace. The family had settled into a routine filled with care, simple joys, and everyday moments of love. In one soft-lit room, a newborn baby rested in a warm crib, while in another, a playful puppy roamed about, curious and full of life. Each part of this home breathed comfort and warmth. The baby's room was painted in gentle hues that calmed the mind. Plush toys were neatly arranged on shelves, and soft tunes often filled the air, creating a peaceful backdrop. Yet, something was off that day. The newborn's cry had begun early and soon grew into a sound that filled every corner of the house. At first, the family believed it to be a normal start for a baby. But as minutes turned into hours, the cry deepened, a cry that carried worry and a plea for help. Inside the nursery, the air was thick with concern. The baby's tiny face, usually so serene, now held a hint of distress, as if trying to signal that something was not right. The parents exchanged troubled glances, wondering if their little one was struggling with an unknown discomfort. They had fed, changed, and soothed the baby, yet nothing quieted the persistent sound. Each cry tugged at their hearts and filled the room with a heavy sense of uncertainty. Just a few rooms away, a small puppy with a shiny coat and bright eyes explored every inch of the home. This puppy, a new member of the family, was a bundle of energy and wonder. Everything was a mystery to him, from the gentle hum of the refrigerator to the soft rustling of leaves outside the window. His light barks and playful antics brought sparks of joy, reminding everyone of simpler, happier times. As the day wore on, the stark contrast between the baby's unending cries and the puppy's carefree play grew even more apparent. While the baby's cry was filled with a deep need and a hint of confusion, the puppy's joyful frolic painted a picture of hope and innocent delight. It was as if the two were speaking in entirely different languages, one of distress and the other of pure, unburdened life. Outside, the world continued on in its steady rhythm. Birds sang in the trees, and a gentle wind stirred the branches, a reminder that life carried on, no matter the turmoil inside. In the quiet of the home, every small sound, the ticking of the clock, the hum of distant traffic, seemed magnified, setting the stage for a moment that was about to change everything. In that home, every heartbeat echoed the deep love shared by the family. The parents stand by the window, watching as shadows dance on the wall with the fading light, each lost in thought about the day's unusual events. They remembered times when laughter was the norm and the baby's smile lit up every corner of their lives. The memory of the day they welcomed the playful puppy was still fresh, a day filled with smiles, gentle pats, and quiet promises of better moments ahead. Every detail in the house mattered now. The soft glow of a nightlight, the whisper of a lullaby from a hidden speaker, and even the distant murmur of a car passing by helped build an atmosphere thick with anticipation. The scene was carefully set, the characters introduced, and the stage laid out for an event that promised to reshape the day in a way no one could have predicted. As the early hours slipped by, the baby's cry grew louder and more insistent. What had started as a soft whimper soon filled every corner of the home with a sound that could not be ignored. The cry echoed off the walls and through the hallways, reaching every member of the family. It was as if the sound carried a message of deep need and a call for comfort. In the quiet living room, the parents exchanged worried glances. They had tried every gentle method to soothe their newborn, softly humming, gently rocking the crib, and even whispering soft words of love. Yet, Nothing seemed to work. The cry continued, relentless and unwavering. Each echo made their hearts ache a little more, and with every passing minute, the worry in their eyes deepened. Outside the nursery, the atmosphere in the house changed. The usual calm was replaced by a tense energy. The baby's cries spilled into the hallway, merging with the subtle sounds of the home, a clock ticking steadily, the soft hum of the refrigerator, and even the occasional creak of the floorboards. It was as if the entire house had come alive with a shared sense of concern, each sound reinforcing the other. In the kitchen, a cup of tea grew cold on the table as a mother stood by the window, staring out into the early light. Her thoughts raced. Was the baby too cold? Had something been missed in the routine checks? The questions piled up like the shadows lengthening on the walls. Every time the baby cried, it seemed to pull her deeper into a well of worry and uncertainty. The air was heavy with the unspoken question, what was wrong, and why would a tiny soul cry so persistently? Down the hall, the father paced slowly, his footsteps soft against the wooden floor. He moved from room to room, checking on the baby, offering a gentle pat or a quiet word of reassurance. Despite his calm exterior, inside he was filled with concern. He recalled how peaceful the baby had been just a few hours before. The sudden change was both startling and mysterious. With each cry, his mind raced through all the possible reasons: hunger, discomfort, or perhaps something unseen that troubled the little one. Amidst this rising tension, the playful puppy continued his own adventures. His bright eyes watched the unfolding scene from a corner, his small body full of energy even as he sensed the change in the home. There was a subtle contrast in the air, the heavy, sorrowful tone of the baby's cry versus the innocent, light-hearted movement of the puppy. While the baby's cry was a constant reminder of distress, the puppy's playful spirit hinted at a possibility of hope. A silent connection began to form, one that might bring relief in the midst of worry. The crying did not ease with the passage of time. Instead, it grew more determined. It was as if the sound had its own rhythm, a steady pulse that set the pace for the day. The family tried every trick they knew. They adjusted blankets, changed the baby's position, and even dimmed the lights to create a soothing environment. Yet nothing made the crying stop. Each attempt was met with the same heart-wrenching sound, a sound that seemed to cry out for a solution that the family could not yet see. In one quiet moment, as the father gently rocked the crib, the baby's cries softened ever so slightly. A brief pause and a constant outcry. It was a fleeting moment, but one that carried a glimmer of hope. The parents exchanged a look of cautious optimism. Was this a sign that the cry could eventually be quieted? Or was it merely another brief lull in an otherwise unyielding storm of sound? At this point, if you find yourself drawn into the twists and turns of this unfolding drama, know that there is more to come. The journey is just beginning, and every moment builds toward a change that will leave you amazed. The hours dragged on, and the persistent cries soon became the heartbeat of the house. Every room was filled with its sound, weaving into the fabric of the day. It was a sound that brought both sorrow and a strange sense of unity. The family, though worried, gathered together, each person doing their best to cope with the growing anxiety. In the midst of this shared hardship, subtle conversation sparked. A soft-spoken exchange about the resilience of life, about the many ways that nature often holds answers to even the most puzzling problems. Even the walls seemed to listen. In the quiet spaces between the echoes, memories of earlier, happier times surfaced. A time when laughter filled the halls, and the baby's smile was a promise of a bright future. Now, the cry was a reminder of the fragility of life, a call for help from a tiny being who depended on everyone around him. Outside the confines of the home, nature carried on undisturbed. The birds chirped in the early morning light, and the breeze gently rustled the leaves of nearby trees. There was a peaceful resilience in the natural world that seemed at odds with the inner turmoil of the household. It was as if nature itself was waiting with bated breath, ready to offer solace or perhaps a surprise that would turn the tide. In the midst of this turmoil, the puppy began to notice something unusual. While he frolicked around and sniffed curiously at every new scent, he kept a quiet eye on the source of the disturbance. There was something in the persistent cry that tugged at his instincts, a call that was different from the usual household noises. The puppy's ears perked up, and his playful energy took on a new focus. He moved with purpose, as if drawn by a mystery that only he could sense. The sound of the cry, so constant and clear, filled every gap of the day. But within that sound lay hints of a story yet to be told. A tale of connection, healing, and an act that defied expectations. The family began to feel that something was about to change, that the persistent cry might soon be answered in a way they could not have imagined. The stage was set, and every moment was charged with the possibility of an unexpected turn. With each passing minute, the weight of the cry seemed to lessen just a bit. Hope stirred in the hearts of those who listened, as if the sound was slowly leading them toward a solution. And quietly, almost imperceptibly, the puppy's small paws carried him closer to the nursery. His movements were steady, driven by a deep instinct to help. It was in this very moment that the family, lost in their worry, was unaware that the answer they sought was closer than they could ever have predicted. Inside the nursery, the air was thick with the sound of the baby's relentless cry. Every corner of the room vibrated with the heart-wrenching sound, and it seemed that no gentle touch or soft word could break the spell of distress. Then, in the midst of this struggle, the puppy, who had been quietly watching from the doorway, stepped forward. His eyes shone with a calm determination, and his small paws carried him closer to the crib, as if he knew that something extraordinary was about to unfold. The puppy approached the crib with slow, careful steps. Every move he made was gentle, as if he were aware that his next act could change everything. He paused by the side of the crib, his ears perked and his head slightly tilted as he listened intently to the cry. In that silent moment, something shifted. The puppy raised his tiny paw and, with surprising delicacy, reached toward the baby's outstretched hand. His touch was soft, a whisper of comfort in a room filled with sorrow. For a moment, the baby's cry faltered. The piercing sound softened, replaced by a curious silence that filled the room. The parents, watching from a short distance, felt a flicker of hope. They had seen many attempts to soothe their little one, but never had they witnessed such a tender gesture. The puppy, usually known for his playful antics, now carried a quiet wisdom in his eyes. He nudged the baby's hand gently with his nose, as if to say, "I am here. You are not alone." At this point, if you find this story as touching as it is surprising, know that there are many more moments of gentle courage like this waiting to be discovered. Each small act of kindness adds up, weaving a tapestry of hope and love. Now, let's continue to see what unfolds next. The puppy's actions did not stop at a single gentle touch. Sensing that his presence brought comfort, he became bolder yet remained ever so careful. He stepped closer and began to circle the crib slowly. With every step, he seemed to absorb the energy of the room, channeling it into something healing. The baby, who had been overwhelmed by distress moments before, now turned his eyes toward the furry visitor. There was a glimmer of recognition there, a silent understanding that the puppy meant to help. Then came the moment that no one could have predicted. The puppy trotted over to a small basket near the crib. Inside the basket lay a soft, plush toy, a favorite from the early days of the baby's life, long forgotten amidst the chaos of the endless cry. With a careful grip in his little mouth, the puppy lifted the toy and carried it back to the crib. He placed it gently beside the baby as if offering it as a gift, a token of his caring nature. His eyes met the baby's, and in that quiet exchange, a spark of wonder lit up the nursery. The baby's reaction was instantaneous. The persistent cry was replaced by a soft, curious coo as a tiny hand reached out to touch the plush toy. The simple act of placing the toy had shifted the baby's focus from pain to fascination. The atmosphere in the room transformed in an instant, from one of despair to a scene filled with quiet hope and wonder. The family, who had been on the edge of worry, now watched in disbelief and gratitude. Their eyes shone with tears of relief as the nightmare of endless crying finally began to subside. Slowly, a peaceful calm filled the nursery. The baby's face, once contorted in distress, relaxed into an expression of gentle curiosity. The soft sound of cooing replaced a harsh cry, and the air, heavy with anxiety, lifted into a more comforting space. The puppy remained close by, a small guardian whose simple act had sparked a remarkable change. His every move, from the gentle nudge of his nose to the careful placement of the toy, spoke of an unspoken promise that even in the darkest moments, there is light in unexpected places. The family gathered near the crib, each of them silently marveling at the power of this small, brave creature. The mother's eyes filled with wonder as she watched the baby's little fingers explore the soft toy. The father's heart, once heavy with worry, now beat with a renewed sense of hope and gratitude. In that quiet moment, it became clear that the bond forming between the baby and the puppy was something profound, a connection that went beyond words or simple gestures. It was a bond built on trust, empathy, and the belief that love can come in the most unassuming forms. As the minutes passed, the nursery settled into a gentle rhythm. The baby, now soothed, lay peacefully with the toy and the puppy close by. The family took a collective breath, their hearts lighter than they had been in what felt like an eternity. The miracle of that moment was not just in the cessation of the cry, but in the way a small act of kindness had mended a world filled with worry. The puppy, who had stepped in when no one else could, had shown that sometimes the simplest actions are the most powerful. In the soft light of the room, the parents began to whisper among themselves about the mystery of that single act. How did this little creature know exactly what to do? Was it mere instinct? Or was there a deeper, almost magical connection at play? Their thoughts wandered to the idea that love and compassion often come in forms we least expect. The puppy's act was a reminder that help may come from the most unexpected corners, a small being whose heart was bigger than its size. Even as the peace of the nursery deepened, the sense of wonder lingered. The family understood that the night's events were a prelude to something more, a promise that life's challenges could be met with moments of pure, unanticipated grace. The baby's soft coos mingled with the quiet patting of the puppy's paws, creating a melody that spoke of healing and new beginnings. It was a night that redefined hope, proving that sometimes the answer to our deepest worries lies in the gentle actions of those we might otherwise overlook. In that unforgettable moment, the nursery became a haven of transformation. The unbelievable act of the puppy had not only soothed a crying baby, but had also kindled a spark of resilience and connection that would forever warm the hearts of the family. As the night slowly edged toward a new dawn, the bond between the baby and the puppy promised that even in life's most trying times, there is always room for a little magic. A magic born of love, compassion, and a willingness to step forward when it matters most. As the night slowly faded into early morning, a calm unlike any before settled over the nursery. The baby, once overwhelmed by endless cries, now lay cradled in peace. The gentle coos replaced the harsh sounds, and the soft presence of the puppy made all the difference. The little one's eyes, once filled with distress, now sparkled with wonder at the sight of the furry companion by the crib. It was as if the simple bond between them had soothed every worry away. In the warm light of dawn, the baby and the puppy began to share a quiet language of their own. The baby's tiny hand reached out to touch the soft fur of the puppy, and in that brief moment, an unspoken promise was made. The puppy, with his steady, kind gaze, offered comfort that no soothing words or gentle rocking could provide. Every delicate pat and careful nudge spoke volumes about the healing power of care. The room, once heavy with tension, now hummed with the gentle rhythm of new beginnings. The mother watched this touching scene with tears of relief glistening in her eyes. She remembered the long, painful hours of worry and felt her heart lift as she saw her baby respond to the smallest act of kindness. Every soft coo from her child was a reminder that hope had found its way back into their lives. In that moment, she knew that the healing bond was not just a temporary fix. It was the start of something lasting and beautiful. Just as the day seemed to settle into a peaceful rhythm, a strange feeling began to stir in the air. The baby slept soundly in the crib with the puppy curled up at the foot of it, a picture of calm after a long night of worry. Soft beams of sunlight streamed through the window, dancing on the walls and hinting at a new beginning. The family, now relieved and smiling quietly, felt that every problem had been solved. But in life, moments of calm often hide hints of what is to come. The morning unfolded slowly. The puppy, whose gentle nature had healed so many wounds the night before, began to move about with a new purpose. He trotted from one corner of the room to another, his ears twitching as if he was listening for a sound that only he could hear. The baby, still wrapped in peaceful sleep, shifted slightly as if sensing a change in the room. The family watched with a mix of relief and quiet curiosity, wondering what the little guardian had discovered. Outside the nursery, the day grew warmer. The soft murmur of birds and the distant hum of the town provided a gentle background score. Yet, beneath this calm, the puppy's behavior grew more alert. He stopped near the door and sat, his eyes fixed on something beyond the familiar walls of the home. His small body was still, but his intense gaze told the family that something was not right. The mother's heart skipped a beat when she noticed the puppy's focus. She exchanged a worried look with the father, who had also been drawn to the subtle tension in the room. There was an unspoken question in their eyes. What had the puppy sensed? The room, which had just moments ago echoed with soft laughter and peace, now carried an undercurrent of anticipation. Even the baby, in its sleep, seemed to react as if aware of the change. As minutes passed, the silence grew deeper. The puppy rose slowly and moved towards the door, his steps cautious but determined. The family followed him, each step filled with a growing sense of foreboding. Outside the door, the familiar sight of the garden and the quiet street took on an unfamiliar cast. The puppy paused at the threshold, his ears perking up as he sniffed the air. There was a new scent, one that carried hints of something unknown, a mix of the sweet fragrance of morning flowers and an odd, unplaceable tang that neither the parents nor the baby had noticed before. The father stepped forward and opened the door just a crack, peering into the light of the early day. The garden looked as it always did, with dew on the grass and the soft rustle of leaves in the gentle wind. Yet, beyond the garden, at the far end of the yard, a shadow moved. It was slight and hard to make out, but it was there, a dark shape that did not belong. The puppy let out a low, steady growl, his body tense, and he turned to look back at the family with eyes that seemed to say, "I sense something you do not." The mother's breath caught in her throat. The garden had always been a safe place, a haven of natural beauty and quiet comfort. Now it felt like the calm before a storm. The shadow moved again, slowly, as if it were testing the edge of the light. The puppy began to pace back and forth near the door, a clear sign that his instincts were warning the family of a possible threat. The air grew heavy, filled with an unspoken question of what might be lurking just beyond the safe space of their home. Inside, the baby stirred in its sleep. The soft coo was a gentle reminder that even in the midst of potential danger, life goes on. But the parents could not shake the feeling that this was more than just an ordinary day. The puppy's behavior had set off alarm bells in their hearts. They knew that sometimes, just as a kind act can heal, an unexpected moment can change everything again. The father closed the door slowly, trying not to disturb the fragile peace inside. While the mother peered out, her eyes searching the garden for any more signs of movement. The puppy sat by the closed door, head tilted as he listened. Every sound, the rustle of leaves, the distant bark of a stray dog, even the whisper of the wind, seemed amplified in that quiet moment. It was as if the world had slowed down to let this mystery unfold. A sudden rustling came from behind a row of shrubs, and the puppy sprang to his feet. The family leaned in, hearts pounding in unison. The garden, once a picture of serene beauty, now held a sense of mystery and a touch of danger. The shadow that had once been faint grew more distinct, moving closer to the open space near the garden bench. In that split second, the puppy's eyes locked onto the approaching figure, and his growl deepened. Just as the tension peaked, the sound of footsteps echoed from somewhere beyond the garden. They were slow, deliberate, and carried a weight that made everyone pause. The puppy stood firm, a small guardian against a threat that had not yet fully revealed itself. The mother took a step back, and the father reached out as if to call for help, though no words were needed. Everyone sensed that what was about to happen could change the story once again. And then, as if the moment itself could not hold any more suspense, the mysterious figure stepped into the light. For a brief, heart-stopping moment, time seemed to freeze. The figure's face was hidden in shadow, and their presence radiated an energy that was both familiar and utterly foreign. The puppy's posture shifted, a mix of defiance and fear flickering in his eyes. The family's hearts pounded in unison as they braced for what would come next. What will the mysterious figure bring into this fragile world of healing and hope? What secret or danger lies behind this unexpected arrival? The answer remains hidden, waiting just beyond the edge of light and shadow, as the scene cuts abruptly, leaving you with a mystery that promises more twists, more courage, and more surprises in the next chapter of this incredible journey.